Hi, everybody. I would like to welcome you this evening to tonight's discussion about concussions. Now, I did this last year, and just like then, this is still a pretty hot topic. People are much more aware of concussions with all the talk over the last few years from the NFL and soccer, as well as the movie starring Will Smith. Concussions are definitely in the forefront of people's minds. Now, frankly, so many people don't really know or understand what a concussion is. So let's start it with just kind of a little discussion about that. Simply put, a concussion or a mild traumatic brain injury, or MTBI, you'll see them referred to as all of those, is a type of injury where a bump, a blow, or a jolt to the head, or a hit to the body that causes the head and the brain to move rapidly back and forth. This sudden movement can cause the brain to actually bounce around or twist in the skull, stretching and damaging the brain cells and creating chemical changes in the brain. They're serious, but are described as mild brain injuries because concussions are usually not life-threatening. Even so, the effects of a concussion can be serious. So, a concussion is a traumatic brain injury that alters the way your brain functions. The effects of a concussion are usually temporary, but they can be incredibly damaging. A concussion can include headaches, problems with concentration, memory, balance, and coordination. So this teleseminar is designed for anybody who's physically active or has children that participate in sports or coach sports or other physical activities regularly. Being conscious of what causes a concussion and prevention methods are key to avoiding this debilitating injury. The causes of a concussion can vary dramatically. They usually occur from a blow to the head, but they can also occur, like I already stated, when the upper body is violently shaken. The scariest part of a concussion is that they can occur without you even being aware of it. Aside from perhaps some cuts and bruises, there may be no physical evidence of brain injury. A common misconception is that you have to pass out or lose consciousness to suffer from a concussion. This is definitely not the case. People vary in how they deal with this trauma. Some may forget what happened right before the event and or pass out, but many others continue their routine without even noticing. Now, rarely, concussions can cause serious problems and may require surgery or lead to lifelong problems with movement, speaking, critical thinking, and learning. And there's a small chance of permanent brain damage. So contacting a professional is essential if you or someone you know is suffering from the symptoms of a concussion. Now, common concussions occur to those who play contact sports. Normally, the fluid around your brain acts like a cushion that keeps your brain from banging into your skull. But if your head or your body is hit hard, your brain can crash into your skull and be injured. There are many ways to get a concussion. Some of the causes might include fights, falls, playground injuries, car crashes, bike accidents, contact sports or impact risk sports such as football, boxing, hockey, soccer, skiing, snowboarding, basketball, the list goes on and on. Now, although concussion injuries can be mild and the majority of people fully recover, the injury still requires time to heal properly. A concussion can last from just hours to months. And the symptoms can be subtle, but they include headache or a feeling of pressure in the head, a temporary loss of consciousness, confusion or feeling as if you're in a fog, amnesia surrounding the traumatic event, dizziness or seeing stars, ringing in the ears, nausea, vomiting, slurred speech, delayed response to questions, appearing dazed or fatigued. Some of the symptoms of concussion may be immediate or delayed in onset by hours or even up to days after the injury. And some of these might be concentration and memory complaints, irritability and other personality changes, sensitivity to light and noise, sleep disturbances, psychological adjustment problems or depression, and disorders of taste and smell, where things just don't smell or taste right. Now, other symptoms fall into two primary categories. These are emotional and mood and sleep. And so the emotional and mood symptoms would be that you easily get upset or angered, that there's a lot of sadness, or that you're very nervous or anxious, or just more emotional than normal. Sleep symptoms would be that you're sleeping more or less than what is typical for you, or having a hard time falling asleep. Now, these can be signs of concussion as well. Now, in adults, a concussion can go unattended or missed. Sometimes after a concussion, you may feel as if you're not functioning as well as you did before the injury. This is called post-concussive syndrome. New symptoms may develop. These symptoms may include a loss of consciousness after any head trauma, such as a mild bump, confusion, headaches or blurry vision, nausea or vomiting, blurred vision, loss of short-term memory. You may not remember the actual injury or the event sometime before or after the impact. Perseverating, which means that you're repeating the same thing over and over again, despite being told the answer each time. For example, was I in an accident? Changes in your sleep patterns, such as not being able to sleep or sleeping all the time. Changes in your personality, such as becoming angry or anxious for no clear reason. Lack of interest in your usual activities, or changes in your sex drive. Or possibly dizziness, lightheadedness, or unsteadiness that make standing or walking difficult. Now, head trauma is very common in young children, but concussions can be difficult to recognize in infants and toddlers because they may just not be able to describe how they feel. Nonverbal cues of a concussion may include appearing dazed, listlessness or tiring easily, irritability and crankiness. Imagine how hard that can be to spot when they're in the 2s and 3s, right? Loss of balance and unsteady walking, crying excessively, changes in their eating or sleeping patterns, lack of interest in their usual favorite activities, headaches that don't seem to go away, more temper tantrums, sadness, loss of new skills that have just been developed, or loss of balance or trouble walking and or not paying attention. There are a few ways that you can treat mild concussions naturally. Now, if these don't work and concussion symptoms continue, seek medical attention immediately. So we're going to outline some self-care techniques for mild symptoms. These were actually put out by the National Health Service in the UK. So you want to apply ice to the head injury to reduce swelling. Don't apply ice directly to your scalp, as this could damage the skin. So you want to wrap the ice in a washcloth or a towel. Alternatively, you can use a bag of frozen vegetables such as peas and apply the ice every 2 to 4 hours and leave it in place for 20 to 30 minutes. This is really important. You do not want to use nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs or NSAIDs such as ibuprofen or aspirin. These can cause bleeding at the site of the injury and can cause more serious problems. You want to make sure that you get plenty of rest, and where possible, you want to avoid stressful situations. Avoid drinking any alcohol after taking recreational drugs for similar reasons as the NSAIDs, and only return to work, college, or school when you feel like you've completely recovered. Only drive a car or ride a bike when you feel like you've completely recovered, and make sure that you have someone stay with you for the first 24 to 48 hours after the injury in case you experience more serious follow-up symptoms. Now, in rare cases, a dangerous collection of blood called a hematoma may form around the brain after a bump, blow, or a jolt to the head of the body. That collection of blood may squeeze the brain against the skull, and if you see any of the following symptoms, or you're watching someone who has suffered a concussion and they start exhibiting any of the following signs or symptoms, call 911 right away, or take them to the emergency room if they have one or more of these danger signs. If one pupil is larger than the other, if they have extreme drowsiness or an inability to wake up, if they have a headache that's getting worse and does not go away, if they have slurred speech, weakness, numbness, or decreased coordination, if they have repeated vomiting or nausea, convulsions or seizures, or shaking and twitching, unusual behavior, increased confusion, restlessness, or agitation, if they have any further loss of consciousness, if they pass out or they seem like they've been knocked out, even a brief loss of consciousness should be taken seriously. And for toddlers or infants, if they will not stop crying and they can't be consoled and won't nurse or eat, these are serious signs of concussion. So how do we prevent concussions? Preventing concussions altogether is a bit difficult. It's hard to predict what amount of force will trigger this injury, and everybody is different. Make it a point to wear a well-fitted helmet or ensure that your child is wearing a helmet appropriate for the sport that you're partaking in. The helmet should fit all requirements for that particular sport. As a rule of thumb, avoid using the head as a primary focal point of contact. primarily we're talking about football here. In strong contact sports such as football, learn proper tackling and leading techniques. Riddell, one of the largest football helmet manufacturers, actually has a great set of videos on their website at www.riddell.com/education. The Centers for Disease Control here in the United States also has some great heads-up sheets, and these are at www.cdc.gov/heads-up/training/index.html. And I would be more than happy to send you a copy of these links and or fact sheets if you email me at info@myperformancechiropractic.com. We'll also be posting this talk along with a PowerPoint presentation on our website and on Facebook, so you can look there. I've put the links on there as well. So how can chiropractic care help concussions? The strengthening of the neck muscles is the key to lower risk of concussion. Because a concussion is a brain injury caused by a direct blow to the head, neck, or face, there's a good chance that the blow has caused a misalignment of the cervical spine. This is similar to whiplash causing a misalignment of the cervical spine. A chiropractor can evaluate whether you're demonstrating signs of neck injuries commonly associated with concussions and provide you with relief of neck pain and cervicogenic headaches. Now, sports injuries often damage the alignment in the spine, which causes pinched nerves, and these pinched nerves can't communicate properly between the brain and the other parts of the body. So chiropractic care will help with alleviating those communication issues as well, pre- and post-concussion damage. Now, believe it or not, females are actually much more likely to suffer concussion than males. Following are a few quotes. Girls playing high school soccer suffer concussion 68% more often than boys playing the same sport. Concussion rates in high school basketball were almost 3 times higher for girls than for boys, and girls took much longer than boys for concussion symptoms to resolve and return to play. This came from a website called momsteam.com. Now, females are unfortunately more likely to suffer concussion, and as we discussed above, it's due to the brain injuries caused by a direct blow to the head, face, or neck. Therefore, the strength of one's neck muscles might be the key to preventing the concussions. Females have smaller heads. One study of collegiate soccer players found that females had 26% total mass, less mass in their head than males, and we're talking primarily the thickness and integrity of the skull. Now, females on average also tend to have weaker neck and upper body muscles than males, and therefore they're more prone to concussions because their neck muscles are less developed than boys, and they're not as good at boys as absorbing the shock of impact. So how do we get back to normal after a head injury? The length of time you should wait before resuming your normal activity depends on the severity of the concussion. Be advised that you should only return back to your daily routine of work or school only after you have fully recovered. Now, a few things to remember. Chiropractic care is an ideal treatment choice for mild injuries, including plenty of rest and not overdoing things, and allows sufficient time for recovery. I really hope that you learned something about concussions this evening and that you might use some of these tips in order to recognize and get proper treatment for yourself or your loved ones or your athletes if you suspect that a concussion may have occurred. We're available at Performance Chiropractic to help you. If you have any questions, please call the office to make an appointment. If you want to find out if we might be able to help you. Now, remember that you can find us on our website at www.myperformancechiropractic.com and on Facebook at Performance Chiropractic-Olathe. Feel free to email us if you'd like to at performance_chiropractic@yahoo.com or at info@myperformancechiropractic.com, or feel free to call us at our office anytime at 913-782-5000. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great evening.